Hi, today we will explain the storyline of the movie The Dark Valley, which was released in 2014. Okay, let's get right to the story. A man named Greider is traveling with his two horses. After climbing a hill and descending into a valley, he arrives at a remote village in Germany that is strictly guarded by the locals. The village is isolated and few people know about it. Upon arriving in the middle of the settlement, the villagers surround him. A man arrogantly asks him what his purpose is in the village. Greider says he needs a place to stay during the winter. At first, the man named Hans Brenner quickly drove him away, but Greider handed him a bag of money. Hans took the coin to his father at home. The old man examined the coin briefly before giving his permission. Thus, Hans allowed him to stay for the winter. Hans also asked what he wanted to do there, but Greider did not answer clearly. He seemed to be waiting for something. However, Greider showed that he could take pictures, so one of Brenner's children asked him to take a picture of him holding a weapon. Hans and some villagers then escorted Greider to another house where Lucy and her mother lived. Hans paid the rent to Lucy's mother with a coin from Greider. Lucy's mother looked frightened and hesitant, but she had no other choice. After a brief introduction, Hans returned home. Lucy didn't seem very enthusiastic about her new tenant, but Hans told her to be nice, as the host should be. Lucy and her mother brought Greider's belongings to his room. Lucy's mother offered to tidy up Greider's things, but Greider insisted on doing it himself. He hid his rifle in the horse stable. That evening, they had dinner together, and it was revealed that Greider was a photographer from America. He admitted he was interested in photographing the valley in their village. Lucy seemed intrigued by Greider's origins and began to ask questions, such as about the Indian tribe and how Greider could speak German. Greider explained that he learned German from his mother. Noticing Lucy's curiosity, Lucy's mother told her not to ask too many questions. Greider then asked who the men who had accompanied him earlier were. Lucy's mother explained that Hans's father, Brenner, was the village leader, and the 6 men were Brenner's sons: Hans, Otto, Hubert, Luis, Eddie, and Rudolf. After dinner, Greider went to his room to prepare for bed. He checked his photo necklace and turned on the metronome beside his bed to help him sleep soundly. Suddenly, he heard footsteps outside the window. Greider got up and peeked out, only to find it was Lucy rushing toward the horse stable. Lucy had a boyfriend named Lucas that night. They met secretly, but when Lucas asked Lucy to sleep with him, Lucy hesitated. She didn't want to do it before they were married, so Lucas was forced to restrain himself. The next morning, Lucy and her mother were doing their usual activities at home when Greider offered to help. Lucy's mother initially objected because Greider was their guest, but Lucy said they needed someone to split firewood. She thought Greider could help if he could, so Lucy finally asked Greider to show her photos of his work. Greider didn't mind showing 2 photos in a frame: a house in Texas and a photo of himself with his mother. He didn't have a photo of his father because he had passed away. Lucy mentioned that her father had also passed away near her brother during a thunderstorm. After the conversation, Greider began splitting wood behind the house. After praising Greider's woodcutting skills, Lucy said she would go shopping in the village later that afternoon and asked if Greider wanted to come along. Greider and Lucy rode a horse-drawn carriage and entered a shop run by an elderly couple. Lucy bought some kitchen supplies while Greider said he wanted to buy coffee and nails. The old man running the shop told them that they had a blacksmith if Greider needed to replace his horse's shoes. Suddenly, another customer interrupted them. The man was Otto, accompanied by his brother Eddie. Otto approached Lucy and asked if she had treated him well. He then approached Lucy and reminded her that Hans had told him to behave herself. Seeing how Otto treated Lucy, Greider replied that he was fine. Otto said he wasn't talking to Greider. He thought Greider was challenging him. After that, Otto asked the shop owner for 2 shots of liquor and invited Greider to drink with him, but Greider refused because he didn't like liquor. Otto didn't accept his refusal, so he beat Greider until he was lying on the ground and forced him to drink a bottle of liquor until he choked. Lucy told Otto to stop bothering Greider, after which Otto and Eddie left the store. Before leaving, Lucy warned Greider to leave the village immediately before the snow fell because it wasn't a suitable place for him, but Greider didn't care. In the following days, he began wandering around the valley taking photos, and Greider seemed to be hiding something. He was transfixed by a wooden cross that had been standing there for a long time, and he also stared silently at the priest in the church. After returning from taking pictures, Greider saw Lucy and her mother preparing wedding clothes for Lucy and Lucas's upcoming wedding. Lucy then asked Greider to take pictures of Lucy and Lucas before the wedding day, and Greider happily agreed. They took the photo just moments before the snow began to fall. That day, Greider photographed the gate in front of the Brenner house. As usual, Hans and his brothers and some villagers chopped down trees in the thick snow, creating a path to slide the logs down the valley. At first, their work went smoothly, but as it grew darker and the snow fell heavily, the villagers below did not respond when Hans asked if the tree trunk had arrived. Finally, Eddie volunteered to check. After waiting for a while, they were all shocked to see the man emerge from the tree trunk slide, dead. The church bell suddenly rang to announce that someone had died. That night, everyone gathered in front of the church to receive Hans's son's body. Hans's father, Brenner, asked for his son to be taken home, as the funeral would be held the next morning. Lucas's father and Lucas stopped by Lucy's house, where Lucas's father said that the priest had advised them to proceed with the wedding. Lucy then ran to the back of the house, and Lucas immediately chased after her. Lucy was afraid because if they got married, Brenner would take her away. She wanted to marry Lucas no matter what, but she didn't want that to happen. Meanwhile, Greider peeked at them from the window. The next day, one of Brenner's descendants, Rudolf, went hunting. It was winter, and the village was usually short of food. He aimed at a deer, but suddenly it ran away. Rudolf tried to find the direction the deer was running in. He heard footsteps, which he thought were the deer's, however. When he turned around, a modified piece of wood hit him in the eye, blinding him. He screamed in pain, then stumbled aimlessly until he fell from a height into the river below. The Brenner family grew worried when Rudolf did not return after 3 days, so his siblings rushed out to look for him. Meanwhile, Greider packed his belongings and asked Lucy to prepare provisions for him. After that, Greider went to the stable to get ready and take his rifle. Lucy was surprised to see Greider carrying a rifle, as according to village rules, only the Brenner family was allowed to use weapons. On the way, Hans and his brother saw Rudolf's body lying on the river rocks. With heavy hearts, they carried him to their father's house. Brenner was devastated to see his son dead in such a gruesome state. He found a nail stuck in one of Rudolf's eyes. With that single piece of evidence, Otto remembered Greider had once bought nails. They rushed to Lucy's house to confront Greider, but the man had already fled. Meanwhile, Lucy and Lucas's wedding went ahead the next day before the rest of the Brenner family left to search for Greider. Unbeknownst to them, Greider was not far from the church where Lucy and Lucas were getting married, waiting until the last guest had left. After that, he entered the church and met the priest, saying he wanted to confess his sins right then and there. Although confused, the priest allowed him to enter the confessional and listen to Greider. Greider confessed that he had killed someone in the forest and another person while hunting. The priest immediately realized that Greider was the one who had killed the Brenner children. The priest was shocked and asked Greider who he really was. Greider then took out a necklace containing a photo of his mother, saying that the priest knew her. 20 years ago, when Greider's mother was still a teenager, she arrived in Brenner's village with her parents. They were starving, but before the villagers could help them, they had to obtain permission from Brenner. Brenner was known for his cruel and tyrannical behavior. He often forced the women of the village, even those who were newly married, to sleep with him. He didn't stop there. He would do it repeatedly, even until the women became pregnant. He didn't hesitate to torture the husbands mercilessly. When he saw Greider's mother, Brenner was immediately attracted to her. Brenner negotiated with Greider's parents, asking them to allow him to sleep with Greider's mother after she grew up and got married. Reluctantly, they agreed. Several years later, Greider's mother grew up, but on the night after her wedding, when she was separated from her husband, her fiancé came to pick her up. They managed to escape and find lodging, paying the innkeeper extra to ensure they could hide safely. Unfortunately, the innkeeper could be easily bribed. Brenner paid her more, and the woman revealed the location of Mrs. Greider's room. Her fiancé was cruelly executed on a cross. Unable to bear witness to this, Mrs. Greider found the courage to fight back and escape with their horse. Since then, Mrs. Greider has never been seen again. She managed to leave the village. However, Brenner's anger was directed at other villagers. He couldn't bring himself to burn down the house of a woman who refused to obey him. After finishing his story, Greider left the room and shot the priest. Meanwhile, Lucy and Lucas's wedding reception was tense, with the Brenner family dominating the event and arranging everything as they pleased. In the middle of the meal, Hans forced Lucas and Lucy to dance, or else he would dance with Lucy himself. They obeyed Hans's order, while his other siblings forced the guests to have fun. Of course, the only ones who were happy were the Brenner family, who scrambled to dance with Lucy until Lucas became angry and attacked one of them. The event was suddenly dispersed after Lucas tried to fight back. Lucy asked him not to insist because it was futile. Lucy was forcibly taken on horseback with Otto. She was scared, but resigned to her fate. On the way, they encountered Greider, who seemed to have been waiting. Greider pointed his rifle and demanded they hand over Lucy. Greider ordered Lucy to take Otto's rifle, while the others were told to throw away their own rifles and dismount from the horses. Fearful of Greider's determination, they all obeyed. Greider also asked them to release their horses, then ordered Lucy to leave immediately. Hans threatened to kill Greider, but Greider calmly accepted it as a challenge, inviting Hans to meet him tomorrow morning in front of his farm. Greider then left with Lucy. Asking for Otto's rifle that Lucy had taken, they rode toward Lucy's house. Greider knew that the Brenner family would visit Lucy's house first, so he took Lucy and his mother to hide at the Lucas family's house. He said he would face the Brenner family alone, so they didn't need to worry. After that, Greider went to the shop owner's house in the market. The shop owner's wife was none other than the innkeeper who had told young Brenner where Greider's mother and his lover were staying. The shop owner thought they were going to be robbed. With a vengeance, Greider forced the old woman to swallow the coins he threw at her, but he changed his mind after seeing her choking on the coins. Meanwhile, Brenner ordered his children to bring Greider back alive. They prepared the weapons they would use the next day and set off in the middle of the night, traversing the valley until dawn. Along the way, Luis signaled that he heard the sound of horses in the distance. They hurried to find the source of the sound, which turned out to be Greider's horse tied in front of the cabin where he was staying. Greider woke up suddenly when he heard his horse restless. He immediately grabbed his rifle when he saw Brenner's group find his hiding place. Without waiting long, Luis and his brothers fired at Greider's cabin. The sound of gunfire echoed throughout the village, startling the residents. Greider quickly ducked, searching for a strategic place to avoid the hail of bullets, and thinking of a way to retaliate. After feeling safe, Luis moved forward first into the cabin. Without expecting it, Greider was hiding near the door, and he didn't have time to fight back when Greider shot him at close range. Hans immediately told his brother to run away, but Otto moved too slowly and was shot. He groaned in pain and asked his brother for help, but they had to protect themselves. Next, Hubert was also shot, but he didn't die immediately. Hans rushed to pull him away so he wouldn't become a target again. Despite his injuries, Hans urged him to keep fighting. Now only he and Hubert were left standing. Hans said that 2 people attacking one after another was better than 4 spreading out. After reloading his gun, Hubert got back up, but he immediately became an easy target for Greider, who shot him in the head. With only one opponent left, Hans advanced and fired a shot, but he was too slow. Greider managed to disable him first. As Hans lay on the ground, Greider approached him and shot him until he was dead. After defeating the Brenner children, Greider returned to the village, which seemed quiet and deserted. He warmed himself by the fireplace of a blacksmith's workshop that was still burning. He heard footsteps approaching, and Greider quickly turned around and grabbed his weapon, but it was only a small child. The boy then ran back toward his mother, unaware that a man had appeared behind him and immediately struck Greider hard. Greider tried to fight back despite falling several times, but the blacksmith was big and stronger than Greider. He kept walking even though Greider managed to shoot him in the side, and they wrestled until Greider seemed about to give up. From behind them, Lucas came and shot the blacksmith dead. Greider grabbed the gun from Lucas and told him to wait. Creeping forward, Greider entered the nearest house where Brenner lived. He found several women hiding silently in one room. Greider continued to open every room in the house until he found old Brenner sitting on the bed, now with no one left to protect him. Greider threw his mother's photo necklace to Brenner, who immediately recognized the photo and realized that Greider was the woman's son. Brenner praised how beautiful Greider's mother had been, then told Greider to sit beside the bed. After learning who Greider was, he pulled Greider's arm close to his face and asked about the fate of his children. Greider replied briefly that they were all dead. Brenner confessed that they were Greider's siblings. He then ordered Greider to kill him immediately, and Greider agreed. When they left the house, the villagers gathered to wait for them. Lucas escorted Greider back to Lucy's house on his horse-drawn cart. With patience and care, Lucy and her mother tended to Greider's wounds, but his body shivered from the infection and the bitter cold. Lucy recounted that Greider had nearly died from the weather. Greider lay in bed for 3 weeks, and no one dared to drive him away after learning he was one of Brenner's descendants. However, Greider chose to leave the village in the spring, in March. He departed from Lucy's house during the day. On that day, the villagers felt relieved as they had finally found peace.